Social media is the biggest known platform of today's society, and with the sports industry booming, the media has welcomed it with open arms. Hi, my name is Tracy Stubbs, and for my industry interview, I interviewed TJ Adesola. Ever since Adesola was little, he loved being involved with sports. His family was always interacted with him, and he always was keeping up with what he knew. When he was little, he played basketball, and he fell in love with the game. He moved on to going on to life through college. He attended the University of Georgia with a mass communications degree. He learned that he really loved the media. He loved being interacted with internet and television and newspapers and always knowing what's going on in the world. He soon fell in love with what sports and communications had in common: the media. During his time at UGA, he had many internships, one being with ESPN, which opened many doors for him. Through ESPN, he had multiple opportunities with different kinds of sports companies. He worked as a TV broadcaster to being an intern for just sports news and being able to document many types of journalism reports for ESPN on different kinds of sports. One of the biggest connections he made was his now job and role at Twitter. He is the head of US sports at Twitter and fell in love with what he did on the digital side of sports news. Twitter is now one of the biggest platforms for sports today. He loves to be able to see how people interact with sports and how they agree and disagree with what happened in the game. He told me that for every sport, he works for every single pro league, including women's and men's, soccer, football, basketball, baseball, softball, tennis, any sport that you can think of. He will be on top of it during Twitter. With football being one of the biggest known sports around, football is the one that generates the most revenue in Twitter. So, having known the biggest sports, soccer, baseball, football, and basketball, those are the sports that he keeps up with the most on Twitter because it brings in the most revenue. He loves how everything changes at a rapid pace and loves what he does every day, being able to do it digital and always be on the move. One of the most important things that I learned from this interview was what he did with his career. He took his platform and went on to the women's NBA team. He started an entire movement on Twitter with teaming up with the WNBA. His goal for Twitter was to mainly bring awareness to women's sports. So, when he teamed up with the WNBA, he decided to go live on Twitter to bring in more revenue for the women's in sports. Since he had this movement, he has brought more awareness to women in sports, including soccer, golf, basketball, and softball. He really loves to enjoy it, and since his family was all big on sports, his little sisters felt like they didn't get enough recognition. And that is where this deep connection with the women in sports movement has brought for him. He loves all of sports and agrees that Twitter should make a difference in today's society with this big movement. If I could do anything differently, I would ask him more about his day-to-day basis and what he does every single day. I would definitely ask him about more connections that he got from Twitter and ESPN and what he loves to do the most by being on this platform. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on TJ Adesola.